So, speaking of severe weather and tornadoes, we'll segue into our next panelist. So, a bit of fun stuff here. Second to the US, Canada has the highest number of tornadoes worldwide. Our next panelist, Nevin deMilliano, is the co founder of the Prairie Storm Chasers, a group dedicated to targeting, documenting, and reporting severe weather across the Canadian Prairies and Tornado Alley in the US. He also enjoys speaking at schools and universities about the science behind storm chasing. It is a pleasure to welcome Nevin deMilliano. Nevin.
Thank you so much, Nadine. Yeah, I'm so happy to be on this panel and chatting weather today. It's really nice here, and I'm in just outside Edmonton. It's a really nice day here, so I'm always happy to talk weather. And let's jump right into the presentation. I got a bunch of slides to go through and maybe a quick little storm chase that we can virtually go through together, hopefully. But I'm always curious what you're most interested in, so if you want to just toss your answers in the chat. I already see some C's and A's coming in, so perfect. Yeah, I'll jump right in. I'm on a team of 5 people. Prairie Storm Chasers is Braden, Beth, Sean, and Chris, and myself, and we kind of pursue severe weather across the Canadian Prairies and into Tornado Alley. Start with an easy question: is what is storm chasing? Well, really, if you've seen the movie Twister, it's not far off from what's depicted there. Obviously, if you take out the Hollywood in it, there's a lot of long drives and things like that you wouldn't see, but really it is kind of like applied field meteorology is kind of another way to call it. And what comes with that is also like, how do you storm chase? So Joanna, it's great that you did that little segment first, because we rely on a lot of the same tools as weather models run by supercomputers is a big tool for us to be able to pinpoint where we need to be upwards of a week away from when a storm might come. So we're using those, and then we're also using, on the day of an event, we're using observations like satellite images, radar, which is like a X-ray for storms to see the shape and size and how they're moving and if they're getting stronger, and then obviously to keep us safe, armored storm chase vehicles. So this is the Dominator 3, probably like the world's most famous storm chase vehicle. It's a slightly modified Ford 350 truck, and it's got armor plating, special windows that shoot up to protect us from debris. It's owned and driven by Sean Schofer, one of our team members, and the newest addition is that rocket launcher on top, which can actually shoot weather instrumentation into storms and tornadoes to gather really important data. Because really some science still doesn't know why certain storms will produce these tornadoes and some storms won't. So that data can be valuable from that perspective. The design of Dominator is so that the wind can go over top of it rather than underneath it and flip it. So it also has road spikes to anchor the vehicle down. But obviously not all storms are ones that we can go into with the Dominator. There's still a limit, so always have to be safe that way. This brings me to like the why chase. I think a lot of people always ask, like, are you crazy? Why do you chase? And I think everyone's why is a little bit different. Some people just really want to see weather at its most dynamic. I think some people want to test their photography and videography skills. Some people are researching weather. For me, it came from a place as a kid growing up and seeing a storm. One of the more famous storms in Canadian history, the Edmonton Black Friday tornado. And I wasn't even around for this tornado yet, but my parents had newspaper clippings in the basement. And I think I came from a place of fear of storms like this. Anytime there was a thunderstorm, I think I was a little bit afraid. And then that kind of translated into intense curiosity as to like, why are these storms happening? What makes them tick? And understanding that helped me not be as afraid of them. And I think one thing led to another, and I just wanted to see more and more of these storms. So that's what led me to storm chasing. But the big reason why for being out there to me is really to help meteorologists like Joanna or anyone who's trying to warn the areas that's in front of these storms as they're progressing. So radar is a big tool for Nadine or Joanna to use while they're communicating the weather and these severe weather alerts and things like that. But the lowest part of the atmosphere in that red box, that's what you can't see with radar. So the meteorologists looking at their data can't see what's going on in the lowest part of the atmosphere. And that's where those big hail events, big wind events, and tornadoes occur. So that's where the spotters or storm chasers come into play. So the reports from trained spotters or storm chasers can really go a long way in helping that warning process and keeping people safe, hopefully. But let's go on a quick chase just to test it all out. So imagine you kind of roll up to a scene that looks like this. So it doesn't look that scary. I mean, I showed that picture of the Black Friday tornado. That was pretty menacing. But so you roll up to on a country road. You kind of see this happening in the sky. What do you think is going to happen next? There's a couple options. You can put your answers in the chat. So is it going to be A, a big lightning bolt, B, a deadly tornado, C, nothing? It's not even raining. Doesn't really look like it is. Or D, is there going to be some big hail? Okay, got all your answers in the chat. Good. I see them coming in, and let's find out what happens. Yeah, so a big tornado. It didn't really look like you'd expect that from that storm, and that's where a lot of that experience and training kind of comes in. We'll go back to that initial photo in a second, but I just wanted to highlight like this was a significant tornado and storm event, and it really happened very quickly in Manitoba. Unfortunately, this was a deadly tornado in that it did end up hitting someone who was traveling on a road nearby, and so there's that to consider. So these are beautiful, inspiring, but also like violent and deadly storms occasionally. So there has to be a healthy fear and respect and knowledge when kind of chasing around them. Oh, if we go back to this first photo and look closely, I mean, this is the kind of shape that we're looking for a storm to do. You can kind of almost visibly see it rotating, even though it's just a still image. And right in the kind of side here, if you can see my cursor, there's actually already a bit of a dust swirl on the ground. So this is a process that we call like tornado genesis, and it's already underway. So if you're a storm chaser, you're probably getting ready to report this storm as about to produce a tornado or in the process of producing a tornado, so that the areas in the path of it will get that warning hopefully in time and be able to take action. But obviously, if you're on the road, like you got to be weather aware in some scenarios, because you just never know when these things are going to happen sometimes. And this all happened really quickly. So the kind of whole topic of that I thought was really interesting for today's talk is like weather forecasting. Is it science or science fiction? And sometimes it feels like science fiction, but I think that that's from the fact that it's so good. I think that a lot of forecasts are incredibly accurate. I mean, we rely on them a lot, and when they're wrong, occasionally, I think we give the meteorologists a bit of a tougher time than they really need. But that's kind of a testament to how good they really are. And to kind of illustrate this, it's amazing how little has to change or come together to go from a day that looks like this on a storm chase. We're really like it feels like we're driving obscene amounts of time, and the only thing we end up chasing is a bottle of sunscreen. Because it happens. And when you're dealing with all these like delicate balances of all these ingredients that need to come together for the perfect mix to get kind of these rotating thunderstorms that maybe will produce a tornado, there's a lot of downtime. So one of the questions was how close is it to like Twister in real life? It's Twister, but they don't show it's Twister's maybe the trailer, and they don't show the movie or the filming, which took like 14 hours of driving to get there. And sometimes you just get a suntan. So yeah, there's a lot of days that are pretty boring. There's a lot of times that are pretty boring, but it is all worth it when it all comes together. And there's really that delicate balance. It goes from a day where we're just getting a suntan to something like this. So there's not a lot that could be different, but you get very different kind of days, chase days. Sometimes you get no storms, and sometimes you get a mediocre storm, and sometimes you get 5 tornadoes in a day. And we still really don't know what to expect each day. So we go out hoping that we'll get that. I'm going to whip through this pretty quick, but I think that the climate conversation is really interesting, because I think that using some of this data now and going and using climate data to go back and look at historical events. I talked about my why being the Edmonton tornado. There's some really interesting research that took some of that climate data to kind of use modern tools to be able to produce that graphic you can see on the right, that highlights exactly where the biggest threat for a violent tornado might be on that day. So if we had tools like that back then, would have made a difference. Would less people have been injured? Would less people have died? Would there have been just more warning time, better communication? I think so. And that goes back to my why. Better forecasts, more specific alerts. I think it's really interesting. So go back to this day, and this is the kind of timeline of events. And I think maybe this timeline looks a little bit different. Maybe the language is a little bit different. I think Joanna talked a little bit about the communication. Maybe instead of heavy thunderstorms, they're already talking about tornadoes in the day or the hours leading up to this storm. And maybe that makes a difference. And I do truly think it will. And thanks so much. That's it. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to talk on the panel after this.
Well, thank you so much, Nevin. A lot of questions are coming in already regarding tornado chasing and the storms that you track. You mentioned the movie Twister. I think you answered that question, but just one quick question, and keep the questions coming as well. So all of our viewers, one of the questions is how close do you actually get to the tornado? And where can, say, an enthusiast or someone who's interested in the field get, spotter training or, storm chasing training? Where can they hone their skills and their knowledge?
Sure thing. Great 2 questions there. So how close do we get? It depends on a lot of things. It depends on all the ingredients that are coming together to that day. What are we expecting? If we're expecting a tornado like the Black Friday tornado, obviously you don't want to get very close to that. Even a vehicle like the Dominator, you do not want to go into a storm like that. It's just the winds and everything is just too intense. So it all depends on the different factors. But I think having the right safety tools and things like that can kind of gauge, and also the experience. For me, I like to stay a little bit further back. Some of the other people on my team like to be a little bit closer. It's experience and comfort level, and so there's a lot of different variety strategies that can go into how close you want to chase. And the second question was spotter training and things like that. There's a lot of great online resources. I would suggest if you go to our website, I threw a bunch together, prairiestormchasers.com, and they're all together there if you want to check that out.